For a lot of people, words like frugality, thrifting, budgeting, living below your means, those words feel like they are synonymous with being poor, with poverty, with being deprived of things, with living a sad, boring life. And a lot of people would rather just get themselves into, quite frankly, debilitating debt. They're like, listen, this is not Look Who's Talking, like John Travolta with his
could be lunch meat, could be peaches. Who knows? Even though it's free, don't mean it's no good.
And they're like, no, thank you. I will just keep racking up the debt. This idea of frugality, frugal living, living below our means is actually something that can benefit most of us. We just have to change how we view it, because the way that we're viewing it is we're allowing the marketing language and the consumerism languages to define how we feel about doing something that's a simple mathematical equation, which is just that you make X, you spend Y. Y must be less than X. This is not like Fibonacci sequence, okay? We don't have to like go into some like giant whiteboard like astrophysics equation. It's a very simple equation. And maybe you're thinking, okay, fine, that sounds great, but that's a lot harder to do than it sounds. Oh, and honey, don't I know it, okay? Which is why I'm going to share with you today in this video how you can use I'm going to show you how to use a simple 3x5 card to start living below your means today. A lot of times, thanks to media and things like that, we can feel like frugality, living below our means, we can conjure up these ideas in our mind of things like crazy coupon ladies from TV shows, or like hoarders who will never get rid of anything because they feel like they just might need it someday. It just kind of takes us to like a weird place, and it feels like deprivation sometimes. But the reality is, living below your means says nothing about anything else in your life. It simply means more comes in than goes out in your budget and your expenditure every month. It's really that simple. You don't spend more than you make. The first step to living below your means is really about that gap. How much gap is there? If you make $2,500 a month, but your bills are $2,400 a month, that is a very, very tight situation to be in. And it really puts you in this like fingers crossed, oh, I just hope I make it to next payday without anything bad happening, anything crazy happen. And it really leaves you very vulnerable to the things of life, the unforeseen circumstances, and the things that are going to come up. For a lot of people, it's a matter of making different decisions. A lot of people want to be frugal. They want to make changes, but they don't want to give up their quality of life. They don't want to give up the things in life that they really enjoy and that really matter to them. And my argument has always been, you have to know what matters to you. What matters to me might not matter to you at all, and vice versa. You have to know where your priorities are. We have to face some hard facts about our spending habits. America just recently reached over $1 trillion in consumer debt. Yes, I said 1 trillion. And in case you're thinking, okay, millions, billions, there's billionaires, trillion, that's a lot, that's a lot. Let me just tell you exactly how much that is. Now, this is according to Google, so hopefully she's right, he's right, whatever Google is. AI. 1 million seconds, if you think of it in terms of seconds, 1 million seconds is 12 days, okay? 1 trillion seconds is 31,688 years. Okay? 1 million is 12 days. 1 trillion is 31,000 plus years. Math is fun, but also terrifying. Let's get back to the point. We have to set our priorities, okay? I am not telling you that you have to cut out everything in your life that you love and you just have to lay around on your floor eating kidney beans out of a can and crying into your pillow with no pillowcase because you can't afford one, and you have to decorate a shoebox to live inside. Like, no one's saying any of that. But you do have to be honest and an adult about how much money you make and how much money you spend. And there has to be a gap. It's that simple. So we start by looking at our budget. We look at what we're spending. Then we're going to Marie Kondo our budget. Even though that lady came out like very recently and was like, haha, just kidding about that. Declutter everything in your life because it's actually really hard with kids. I felt a little vindicated because I read her book on a plane one time and I was like, this lady doesn't have kids, and she didn't. And now she does. And now she understands it's not as easy with kids. Still can be done. See my friend Dawn at the Minimal Mom. But it's not as easy as like, does this thing bring me joy? There's a lot more to it than that once you have a family and children. I digress. We're going to Marie Kondo our budget though, okay? We all have bills that don't really bring us joy. My dog. Unless you want to move back in with your parents. Thank goodness there's no such thing as debtor's prison anymore, right? Like, whew, that's a video for another day. Point is that you need to Marie Kondo your expenditures. You need to look at them and think about, is this the thing that I want to prioritize? Like, does this expense bring me joy? I'm talking about like your DoorDash, your coffee trips, your weekend trips away with girlfriends, your clothing purchases. Do these things bring me joy? Am I willing to cut them? You might need to use, depending on how many expenditure categories you have, like a 1 to 10 scale rating to determine, okay, where does this fall, right? Because there might be some things that it's like, this is a 5, this is a 7. But at the end of the day, when you look at them all, the 5 might have to go so that the 7 can stay, right? If you want to live below your means, then you have to get honest about what your means are, what matters to you, and what you're willing to let go of, right? Because life is just about making our choices of sacrifices, our choices of regrets, and that also pertains to budgeting. You also have to put your big girl panties on with this one a little bit, or boy, though I don't know how many boys are actually here. If you put your big girl panties on, you have to be like, listen, this thing brings me joy, but is it really a priority, right? You've got to really reserve the top spots on that priority list for the really, really important things. Now that we know the things that really matter to us, we can let go of the things that don't. We have to stop spending money and wasting money and time on things that don't matter to us. This is my philosophy with decluttering and getting rid of things in my home, is that I declutter and get rid of things because I don't want to waste my time on them. My time is my most precious commodity, and I don't want to waste my time on that thing. So even though my goal isn't to have like this completely minimalist home, I still get rid of a lot of stuff because I just don't want to waste my time cleaning it up. Living below your means does not mean becoming a martyr to frugality. It just means that you get to tell your money where to go, not the other way around. We are all living in this consumer-driven world. We have to, for ourselves, know what matters to us, where our priorities are, that kind of thing. So it's not about being a martyr to frugality. It's about being a conscious consumer, choosing what you'll spend your money on, what you won't, what matters to you, what doesn't. That sounds really great on paper, right? But in practicality, what are we doing? How are we actually making this happen in the practical, real world and not the fantasy world in our minds where everything works out easy peasy, lemon squeezy? The very first thing is that to live below your means, you have to spend less than you earn, right? If that gap is teeny tiny, the only way to make that gap larger is to spend less or earn more. You want to widen the gap. You want to part your budget and expenditures like the Red Sea. People died, so maybe don't do that. But you just want to part the gap, spread the gap, make it... The euphemisms. This is hard. That's what she said. You have to start with baby steps, okay? The very first step is what those numbers actually are. And then we have to budget for the things that we prioritize and the things that matter. Helpful to you because I know that the holidays are coming up, and that's part of the reason that I'm talking about this right now, and I have another video coming up that's going to be very helpful. But in the meantime, I also have a free Christmas budget planner for you down below in the description box, okay? So you can go down there and check that out if you want some help getting your Christmas budget squared away before you get literally pounded in the face with ads and you need this, you have to have it, don't miss it, it's the best deal of your life. Before all of that marketing comes at you hard, you want to have that budget in place, know exactly what we're saying yes to, what we're saying no to, okay? So that's the first step, good budget in place. And a good budget includes hard numbers. Not hard as in difficult, hard as in not movable, immovable, stiff, firm. Oh boy. For most of us as adults, there's nobody to like slap your hand when you go to the cookie jar for another cookie. There's also no one to slap your hand when you grab that credit card to impulse purchase something. So we have to slap our own hands. These analogies are just going like way off the track. That's where once we have our budget, we have our hard numbers, things come up every single day. Decisions about purchases arise often every single day. And that is where our 3x5 card comes in. We are writing 4 questions on this card, and then we are folding this card origami style, whatever. I don't know how to do origami, so I'm just folding it in half. And then we're putting it not in your pocket because it'll go through the washing machine. You'll never see it again. Putting it in our wallet, in our purse, in the place that we go before we make any kind of purchase, likely your wallet. And on this card, the 4 questions. I don't use this for every single purchase. Like I'm not going to use this for a $1 purchase, but depending on how tight your budget is, you might need to. I typically reserve this for purchases over $40. That's where I'm at with my budget, wherever you are, right? Like maybe you a millionaire, girl. So maybe you do this for like purchases over $100, or maybe you need to do this for purchases over $10 or $20. It really just depends on where you're at with your budget, what purchase would actually hurt or throw you off of that budget. If a purchase is over your set amount, you whip out the card and you will address the 4 questions on this card before you make that purchase. What are the 4 questions you ask? They are, do I need it? Not do I want it? Do I need it? Want and need are 2 very different things. The second question, do I already own something else like this that will do whatever this thing does for me? A sweater. Do I need it? Do you own no other sweaters? No other sweater at all that you could wear? Is it cold outside and you have no clothes to keep you warm? Well, then the second question is, do I have anything else that would also serve this purpose? Well, yeah, I have a sweatshirt. Okay. You have a sweatshirt, not a sweater, but it still serves the same purpose. You see what I'm saying here? You following my weird logic? Yes. Do I need it right now, or can it wait? Have I found the best value? Now, I'm not one for running all over hell and half of Georgia to find coupon deals at a bunch of different stores or whatever. But I also know that at this point, I've purchased enough clothing to know where the good deals are and what I can reasonably purchase this item for. Am I sure that I'm getting the best deal on it? I will say this because Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of those holidays are coming up. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in our next video. You need to go into those days with a plan. All of the advertising, everything is going to make you think that you need every single thing that you see. And there are some incredible deals to be found if the answer is yes on this card, right? But if the answer is not yes, then that deal, no matter how great it might be, needs to be a no. Right? That's sort of like a rhetorical question, okay? Yes, is what I'm saying. Right. You know that, right? That's an affirmative, right? If you take the moment every single day with those purchases over the amount, I'm going to challenge you to this for the next 30 days. If you're starting this budget, if you are trying to get onto this train and you've got your budget and everything, for 30 days, commit to using the card method. Commit to answering these 4 questions before you make any purchases that are outside of your regular budgeted expenses, okay? Ask yourself these 4 questions. And at the end of those 30 days, if you do that for every single one of those purchases over whatever the set amount is that you set for yourself, I would be willing to bet you that you find yourself saving a lot more money than you realized and getting that budget on track faster, much faster. And the other thing I would recommend, waiting before you make purchases. This is one of the biggest things that has helped me because I am not so much an impulse buyer, but kind of, right? Like I can convince myself that the answer is yes to everything on those cards, even if it's probably not. I'm like, yes, I don't have anything else that will do. Nope, need it. If you are mentally unstable, if you can do some mental gymnastics with yourself, like I can, to get a yes for those things, sure, that shows your stick-to-itiveness and how bad you really want this thing. But I would encourage you to give yourself a waiting period. I like to, depending on the amount of the purchase, anywhere from 2 weeks to a month usually is how long I will make myself wait to purchase something, especially if it is a pricier item. It's something that I know in my heart I don't need, okay? Most of us know these things. We do. But to actually implement them can be really, really hard, especially when it comes to things we're purchasing for our kids. There's so many expenses that pull at us every day. And there's a copious amount of businesses. They're all in business to make money. And the way they make money is by convincing you that you need the thing that they sell. We can just get into this mindset of it's just normal to like see something, want something, buy something. So let's do a quick recap. In order to live below our means, we must spend less than we make. But the gap between those needs to widen to really be living below our means, not just not overspending, okay? First thing we need to know is what that gap actually is. And we do that by setting a really good, firm, hard, budget. Got to know those numbers. Don't lie to yourself. Don't kid yourself. Don't leave things off. Put everything on there, okay? Everything. Then you're going to look through that list of things on your budget and you're going to Marie Kondo it. You're going to keep the things you love that bring you joy that you can actually afford. Let go of the things that maybe you like. You're not going to waste your money either on things that don't really matter to you. Then you want to set very clearly defined goals. Like I said, this is where that budget is going to get even firmer, is by setting very clearly defined goals for what you want that gap to be, how much you want to have in savings, so that you have really firm goals to work from, which is what you're going to have in the back of your mind when you get your little 3x5 card and you write your 4 questions on it. And you might think it sounds silly, it sounds cheesy, I'm an adult, I don't need to do that. If you feel like you're not living below your means, if you come to find out that you're not, or your gap is nowhere near as big as you want it to be, just do the dang card. You're not too special, too important, too cool, too old, too anything else to write on a 3x5 card and put it in your wallet, because clearly you didn't have the self-control needed before. And I don't say this with judgment. I've been there about 1,000,000 times. Doing these things are just gentle reminders to ourselves of what matters to us, because in the moment, marketers, they play off of your emotion. And in the moment, your emotions are not making you think clearly. That's not what's driving the rational side of your brain. Okay, we can go into that in a whole nother video about the elephant and the rider. That's the elephant. The elephant charging across like, we need that sweater, those boots. And you're like, no, elephant, and trying to hold it back. Your rational brain's like, don't buy them. Don't buy the boots. Your rational self, rider, cannot control a charging elephant. Just trust me, okay? Please don't make my brain try to come up with any more weird analogies or anything else. I'm just trying to convince you that you need the card, all right? I make no money off the card. I don't own any stock in 3x5 cards. I'm not part of the flashcard lobby or whatever else. Like, you just need the card. And remember, if you need help with your Christmas budget, I do have a free Christmas budget planner down below in the description box. Go forth. I was going to say go forth and multiply. You need to go forth and subtract. So go forth and subtract.